Hello guys, welcome to JavaFX tutorial for beginners using SQLite Database. In this video series, I will start with creating a JavaFX project and I'm going to connect it with SQLite Database, and then further we will move towards creating a login page using SQLite in JavaFX and how we can insert, delete or update data in SQLite Database using JavaFX. And in the later videos we will also see how we can use SQLite and JavaFX controls like buttons or text boxes or tree view or list view or combo box with SQLite database. Now in this first video I will start with creating a new SQLite database, and we will download a SQLite jar which is required to connect to SQLite database using JavaFX. Okay, so let's get started. Now there are many ways of creating SQLite database on your Windows operating system or on Linux or Mac OS. What I like is I would like to have a plugin in my Firefox browser which allows me to create a SQLite database using a SQLite manager which it provides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my Firefox browser and I will click on this button on the right, and I will just click this add-ons button, and in here I will search for SQLite, and it's going to show you all the result, and we are interested in this first result which says SQLite manager. Okay, so just click install and it's going to download and install this SQLite manager, and it's going to say restart your web browser. So I'm going to restart my Firefox web browser, and once it's restarted, SQLite is added to your Firefox browser. Now how to search for this SQLite manager? So now once again go to this open menu, and you can see here SQLite manager is added to your options here. Okay, now if you don't find this SQLite manager here, you may need to go to customize, and in here you will find this SQLite manager, and then you just need to drag and drop this into your open menu. So for example, this is SQLite manager, you can just drag and drop this in here. Okay, and then you will be able to see this SQLite manager. Okay, so once everything is finished, you just go to this open menu and open this SQLite manager. Now for the first time when you open this SQLite manager, it's going to look something like this. So to create a new SQLite database, you can just go to database at the top and you can just say create database, or otherwise you can go to this icon and select this icon, and it's going to prompt you to create a new database. Now for example, we are going to create a database called employee DB. Okay, and click OK, and it's going to ask you to save this database at some specified location. So just select some location which you can remember and just say create folder, and now your SQLite database will be created. So you can see my SQLite database is shown at the top here, and when you go to the location where you have saved your database, it will look something like this. So my database name with the extension of SQLite. Now it's not necessary that your SQLite database must have this extension SQLite. It can have the extension .db or some other extension, but in the case of SQLite manager, it creates the database with this extension which is SQLite. Okay, so now we are going to create a table inside this SQLite database. So just go to this table category under your database name, and then right click and just click this option which says create table. And in here, first of all, we are going to give the name to our table, for example employee. Okay, and in this employee table I'm going to create some columns. For example, first is ID, second is name, third is surname, fourth is age, and we are going to create two extra fields for username and password. Okay, so just write username and the next field is password. Okay, and then give the data type to all of them. First ID is integer type, the name is text type, surname is text, age is integer, username is text, and password is text. Okay, and in here you can choose your primary key from here. So let's say our primary key is ID, and in here you can choose if you want your ID to be auto incremented or not. So let's say yes, we want that it should increment with every insert, and you can choose if you want to allow the null or not, and if you want to allow the unique or not. So I will leave them as default, and I will just say OK, and it's going to create this table inside the database. Just click yes, and now you can see employee database is created, and you have these columns inside your database, right? So just select your table and go to browse and search option here, and now we are going to insert some values in this table. So just click this option which says add, and now let's add some values. For example, the ID name is, for example, Tom, surname is something, and age, for example, 22, and username for now let's say it's test, and password is also test for now. Okay, and click OK, and click OK, and it's going to add this first row inside your table. Okay, so now you have one database, and inside your database you have this employee table with one row of data. Now second step to connect your SQLite database with your JavaFX application is to have a SQLite JDBC jar file. So just go to your browser once again and search for SQLite JDBC jar. Okay, and search for this, and the first option which will appear here will be from bitbucket.org/xserial/SQLite-JDBC. So just select this first option from here, and it's going to give you these options, and we are interested in the latest release which is at the top. So just select this SQLite-JDBC and whatever the latest version is, and download this jar file and save it somewhere. So I have saved this jar file at the same place as my database, so I know that this is the jar file I need to use. Okay, so now we have all the required things to create our JavaFX project using SQLite database. In the last video, I've shown you how to create your SQLite database and how you can download this SQLite JDBC jar to add to your project. Now in this video, I'm going to show you how you can create your first JavaFX project and connect it with SQLite database. So let's get started. I'm going to use Eclipse IDE for this tutorial series, but you can use either NetBeans or IntelliJ for the same purpose also. Okay, so let's create our first JavaFX project. So I'm going to go to File, New, Others, and in here I will choose the JavaFX project and click Next. And in here I'm going to give the name to my JavaFX project. We are going to create a login app, so I will name it as login app. Okay, and click Finish, and our project is created, and it contains the application package and this main.java class and application.css class. What we are going to do in this project is we will try to follow the MVC pattern or model view controller pattern, which is a standard in making UIs. And for that, we are going to create a controller class, model class, and for example, login.fxml file. So right click on your application package, and we are going to add a new fxml file. So go to others and choose from here under JavaFX category a new fxml document and click next, and we are going to name it as login. Okay, so login.fxml and click finish, and this login.fxml is added to your project. Now we are going to add some classes, so right click on your application package once again and add a class, and this class we are going to name it as, for example, SQLite Connection, and this class we are going to use to prepare a connection for SQLite with our project. Okay, now we are going to go to our login.fxml file and right click here and go to source, and in here go to the last option which says generate controller, and it's going to create a controller class for us, and its name is login controller. Okay, and I'm going to click OK, and it's going to create this login controller.java class for us. Now we are going to create a model class, so right click on your application package once again, create a new class, and this time we are going to name it as login model class. Okay, and click finish. So these are the classes we are going to require to create our project. We have login controller.java class, login model.java class, main.java class, SQLite connection.java class, and login.fxml file which we have recently created. Okay, now the first thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my main.java class, and what it's doing nothing but creating a scene, and it's adding this scene to our stage, and it's going to display the stage. Now we want to launch our login.fxml file from here. So instead of using this border pane root is equal to new border pane, I'm going to add this line of code which launches this login.fxml file when we run our project, and fix the import. So click on this bulb and import parent, and once again click on this bulb and import fxml loader. So now we have included this line of code which launches our login.fxml file, which is this file which we have created, and just remove this 400 and 400 from this scene constructor because it provides the default size, and we don't want to provide the default size. We want the size of our login.fxml file, right? So this is our code in main.java file. Now next what we are going to do is we are going to go to our SQLite connection.java file, and in here we are going to create a public static method. So just write public static method, and what it's going to do is it's going to return a data type called connection, and we are going to name our function as, for example, connector, and we are going to import this library called java.sql.asterisk. Okay, so import this, and now we are going to write some code inside this connector method. So just add a try catch block first, and inside this try catch block we are going to add these 3 lines. Okay, the first line of this code is class.forName, and inside the brackets you need to pass this constant string which is constant, and you need to exactly write the same constant lines. So just write org.sqlite.jdbc. okay, and the case should be same. And what this forName function does, it returns the class object associated with the class or interface which is given as a string argument. So we are going to call this JDBC class in order to connect to the SQLite database, right? Now create an instance of connection, right? So just write connection, give the name to your connection object is equal to driver manager dot get connection, and inside the brackets just pass this string which is JDBC colon SQLite colon your database name. Now this database name you can give in 2 ways. First way is to just copy the path where your database is present. For example, this is the path where my SQLite database is present, which I've created in the last video, and I'm going to just add this path in here. Okay, so our path looks something like this, which is in C folder, and just add these double forward slashes instead of single forward slash so that this error will be gone. So the first way is to directly give the path of your SQLite file, and then it's going to connect to this database using this path. Okay. Otherwise, if you want to add this database to your project, what you can do here is you can delete the path and just leave the name of your database, which is employee.db.sqlite in my case, and then go to the location where this database is present, and then drag and drop this database inside your login project. Okay, so it should be the login project, not inside the source folder, not inside the application package. You need to drop this under your project. Okay, and click copy, and it's going to add this database inside your project. So just remember, it's not inside the source, it's inside our project folder. Okay. Now what this line of code does is it searches for the database which we have provided here in the parent folder inside your project, and if it's found, then it's okay. Otherwise, it's going to create this database with this name inside your project folder. Okay, so it's better to have your own database inside the folder. Now one more thing we are going to do here is we are going to return in the catch block null, because if this method throws, then we are going to return null here. Okay, so this is the code which we will write in the SQLite connection method, which contain only one method which we use to connect to the database. Now next step is to go to your login model.java class. So go to this class which I have created for the model. So go to this login model.java class, and in here we are going to create a constructor first, and at the top we are going to create an object for this connection. Okay, so just copy this connection from here and go to your login model, and at the top create an instance of connection. And inside this login model.java class also we are going to import this class called java.sql.asterisk. Okay, and now your error will be gone related to this connection. Now inside your constructor, take this connection object and then call the SQLite connection class. So just call this connection class and then call this method which we have created, which is connector, and just close it. Now if you see this function which we have created in the SQLite connection class, which is connector, it's going to give you null if this code throws, right? So we need to handle this null situation also in this constructor for the model. So just say if our connection is equal to null, then what we are going to do, we are going to just exit our application, because if the connection is not successful, it's no use to run our application, right? So now we are going to create one more method, and I'm going to name it as isDBConnected, and it's going to return a boolean value. So just return a boolean from here, and inside this method what we are going to do is we are going to take this connection object and we are going to call a method called isClosed on it. And what this isClosed method does is it's going to give you a boolean value. So it checking that whether your connection is closed, and if it's closed, it's going to give you the true value. Otherwise, if the connection is successful, it's going to give you the false value. And we need to add this code inside a try catch blocks. So just add a try catch block around this code, so it's not going to give you the error. Okay, so in here we are just going to return this connection is closed, and we are going to check the negative condition. So if the connection is not closed, then we are connected, otherwise we are going to return false. So these are the two methods we are going to require in the login model.java class. Now let's go to our login controller.java class, and in here first of all we are going to implement the initializable interface, and it's going to ask you to implement a method which is initialize. So just implement this method from here, and inside this class, first of all, what we are going to do is we are going to create an instance of login model class. So just write public login model and give the name to your object, which is login model itself is equal to new login model. Okay, so we have created an instance of login model. Okay, now what we are going to do is we are going to create a label here. So just add this line of code, which is @fxml, and then in the next line just add this variable called is connected, which is of label type and which is private inside this login controller class, and just import this label from JavaFX scene control. Okay, now go to your initialize method and take this login model, and then write if, and inside this if condition just call this login model dot is db connected method, and this is the method which we have created in the login model, right? So if the db is connected, then we will show in this label that our database is connected. So just write is connected dot set text, and then you can just write here connected. Else we are going to display in the label that our connection is not successful. So you can just write not connected. So this will be the code for your login controller class. Now we can move to the login.fxml file. So right click on your login.fxml file and open it with scene builder. And once this scene builder is open, just click on the anchor pane here, and first of all we are going to give some width to this anchor pane. So just go to layout, and in here just give the pref width is equal to 300 and pref height is equal to 300 also, and press enter, and it's going to give you this kind of frame here. Now next what we are going to do here is we are going to go to the controls section here, and we are going to take a label and just resize your label, and go to the properties, and we are going to change the font size of it. So go to this property called font here and change the font to, for example, 18. Okay, and I'm going to just remove this text on the label, and I'm going to say that this is our status. Okay, so text is status here, and we can change the color also, for example, red. Now select your label and go to the code section here. So go to this category called code for your label, and as a fx ID we need to give the same ID which we have given in here in the controller class. So our label name is connected. We are going to give the same name in here as a fx ID. Okay, now one last thing which is remaining here is connecting our controller from this fxml file. So go on the left hand side and click this option called controller, and from here you can choose your controller, which is application.login controller. Okay, and then save everything in the scene builder. So save everything and go to your Eclipse IDE and right click on your project and refresh everything. Now one last and most important thing which is remaining here is to add the SQLite JDBC jar file which we have downloaded in the last video, which is this file, right? So to add this jar file, what we need to do is we need to go to this section which says JRE system library. Okay, so inside your project you will find this JRE system library, and right click on it and then go to build path and then click configure build path. And in here we are going to just click this option which says add external jars, and then search for this jar file. Okay, so wherever you have saved this jar file which we have downloaded in the last video, just select this SQLite -JDBC jar file and then open. And what it's going to do is it's going to add this SQLite JDBC jar file into your libraries and click OK. Okay, now let's run our application. And now it says connected. Okay, so our code is working successfully. Now go to your SQLite Connection.java class in which we have written our SQLite connection, and in the catch block you can just write sysout and you can print the exception here. Why we are doing this? Because let's say we have provided some location for this database which doesn't exist. Okay, so this is the location of the database which doesn't exist because our database is in the main folder and not in the image folder, right? And save your code and run it, and you can see this image /employeedb.sqlite does not exist in C folder. Okay, so if you give the wrong path, it's going to throw the error and it will be printed using this system.out println code. Okay, because what we are doing here inside our model constructor, that we are exiting from our code, and if your SQLite class throws, then it will be exited and you will never know what happened. Okay, otherwise you can also add a message here, so you can print message under this if condition before exiting that the connection is not successful, right? So once again the path is wrong and you run your code and you can see here it's printing connection not successful, so you know it's throwing and you are seeing the error here. So let's change the database path to the actual path of the database and run it once again, and now it runs successfully. Okay, now one more thing I want to show you here is when you right click your project and go to the properties, you will find in resources the path to your project in the location. Just copy this location and open the location of your project in the folder explorer. So this is the location where my project is, and you can see employeedb.sqlite is there. Okay, now let's say that we change the name of the employee DB, for example employee DB1. Okay, and let's see what happens. So save your code and run it, and you can see here it's still saying us connected, but the DB name is changed. So what happened here? So what happened here, you can go to your project once again and you can see that there is a new database created with the name employeedb1.sqlite, right? So this is going to create a new database. If it doesn't find the database, it creates the new database in your project folder, and then it tries to connect it, and that's why your connection is successful. But you are never going to query this database because you don't have any table here. You can see the size is 0, but our original database size is 96 KB because we have created in the last video a table inside this database. So just remember this thing also. If the database name is wrong, then it's going to create a new database with the wrong name for you in the same folder. Okay, so just provide the exact name for your database here. In the last video, we have written some code to connect our JavaFX app to SQLite database. And we have created some classes for our login page, which were login controller.java, login model.java, SQLite connection.java, and login.fxml, right? Now we are going to complete this login functionality in this video. So first of all, what we are going to do is we are going to open our login.fxml file. So right click on it and open with scene builder. I have already opened it. And in here, we are going to add some controls so that we can check the username and password against our database values. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some controls here. So first control will be a text field, which will be for the username, and the next control will be a password field, which will be for the password. And I'm also going to add a button here. So just add this button. Now select your both text fields and the button, and we are going to go to the properties, and in here we are going to change the font of these text field and the buttons, and we are going to make it 18. Okay, and now we will give some prompt text to the username text. So select your username text field, which is the top one, and then go to the property here, and in the prompt text property you can just write username. Okay, and it's going to show here as a prompt text, and the same we will do for the password text field. So just write a prompt text, for example password. Okay, and press enter. And next what we are going to do here is we are going to select our username text field and go to the code category, and we are going to define the ID for the username text field. So for example, I will just write txt username. Okay, and same we will do for the password. So the ID here will be txt password, and I will just select my button and I'm going to change its text to login. So just write login on the button text here. So our design is complete. So you can save our fxml file by going to the file and just click save here, or just hit Ctrl S for saving your file, and then go to your Eclipse IDE and refresh your project, and you can see all these text fields and IDs are added to your login.fxml file. Now what we are going to do next is we are going to go to our login model.java class, right? And in here we are going to create a new method, and this method we are going to name it as isLogin method, and it's going to return a boolean value also. So just write public boolean is login, and as a argument we are going to pass two arguments here for checking username and password. So just write string user, and the second argument will be string pass. Okay, and just close this method here. And now what we are going to do is we are going to add a try catch block, and just above our try catch block what we are going to do is we are going to define some variables. Okay, so first variable will be the prepared statement variable, and you can name it as prepared statement itself, and the second variable will be the result set. Okay, so just declare this variable called result set and name the object as same. And now we are going to declare a string variable, and we are going to name it as query, because we are going to prepare our query and assign it to this query variable. Okay, and in here we are going to write some query to query the database. So what we want to write here, we want to select username and password from our table, right? So we can write select asterisk from our table name. And if you remember, we have created this database in the last video, and just open this database from your project where you have defined your database inside your project. So just open it from there, and you can see we have this employee table inside our database. So just call this database inside this query, and then we will add a where clause here. So just write where your username column name. So our username column name is username and password column is password here. Okay, so we are going to use these column names. Just write user name is equal to question mark and password is equal to question mark also. Okay, so what this query is basically doing is it's querying your database, and it's querying your table employee, and it's searching for the username and password whatever we provide from these argument user and password. Right, now go inside your try block and take your prepared statement, and we are going to create a prepared statement from the connection. So just use equals, and then if you remember in the last video we have defined this connection object. So take this connection object and then call a method called prepared statement, which takes a string argument, which is our query. So just pass our query variable here and then close the code, and then once again take your prepared statement and then call a method called set string, and it takes two arguments also. One is the parameter index and other is the value. So parameter index is for the username and password, and here index starts from 1. So the index for username will be 1 and index for password will be 2. Okay, so just write 1, and then we will pass this string variable which we are taking from the argument as a first argument. In a same way, just copy the same code, and as a second index we are going to pass this password. Okay, and now we are going to take this result set object and paste it here, and then just write your prepared statement dot execute query. Okay, and now you can take this result set to see what is the result inside it. So you can just write if result set dot next, and then you can just go inside the if statement and you can return true from here. Okay, now what this result set is doing, so once your prepared statement is prepared, and then it executes this query with these values. So user will be replaced here at the place of this question mark, password will be replaced here at the place of this question mark, and then your query is executed and your result will be saved here. Now if it returns any result using this next method on result set, we will find if it is returning any result or not. Okay, so if we have a result more than 1, it's going to go inside this if condition, and then we know that our username and password is correct. Okay, otherwise what we are going to do is we are going to just write else, and then we are going to return false here. And in the catch block also we are going to return false. If some exception occurs, we want to show that username and password is not correct. Now finally, when you have written your code, it's a good practice to close your prepared statement and result set. So just add a finally statement here. So if you know with try and catch, you can also write this finally statement, which is always executed if you have any exception, or if you don't even have any exception. This line of code inside this finally is always executed. So take your prepared statement object and then call a close method on it, And same we will do for the result set. So just use result set dot close. Now if you can see here, this prepared statement dot close and result set dot close is giving us this error. So what this error is, first of all, we need to initialize this prepared statement with null, and also the result set with null, and then just click this bulb here, and then use the first option which says add throw declaration. Is going to add this option before your method, which is throws exception. Okay, and then this error will be gone. So now our isLogin method inside our login model is complete. So let's go to the login controller.java class, and in here we are going to define two text fields. So let's declare the text field variable. So I'm going to just copy and paste something like this, and in here we will just add a text field from here, and for the second text field also we are going to add this text field. So this text field we are going to assign the same name as we have assigned in the fxml file. So select your username text field and take the name which you have assigned as a fx id in the code section, and then paste in front of the first text field variable, and then take your password fx id which you have defined here and paste it in front of this second text field. Now let's define a method in which we are going to check this username and password. So it's going to be a public void login method, for example. So just write login, and it's going to take this action event method. So just add action event and then event as an argument, and then close this method. And inside this method what we are going to do is we are going to take the text from our text username and text password, and we are going to check this. So just call if, and then using your login model object which we have created in the last video inside the controller, just take login model and call the method which we have just created, which is login method, right? And in here it takes username and password, so we can use these text field. So just use text username dot get text, and second text field text password dot get text. Okay, and then close your if statement, and it's going to show you this error. So we need to enclose this in a try catch block, and the error will be gone. And then if this isLogin method returns us the true value, we can set to the label. So we have declared in the last example a label variable. We are going to use the same label, and then in here we are going to set some text here. For example, username and password is correct. Else we are going to set the different method. So just write else, and we are going to take same label, and this time we will just say that username and password is not correct. So just write is not correct. And in the catch block also you can just paste the same code which you have written in the else condition. Okay, so if it throws some error, then we can also display username and password is not correct. Now one last thing which is remaining here is you need to connect this method to the button click event. So just copy this method name, go to your fxml file, select your button, and then go to the code, and in here in the on action category just select this login method and save your code, and then go to your project and then refresh your project, and then let's run our project. So our app is running now. So let's give some random username and password, and let's check what message it shows. So just click login, and it says username and password is not correct. And now let's give the correct username and password. And correct username and password in our database table is test and test. You see, username is equal to test and password is equal to test. So when we give username is equal to test and password is equal to test, and when we click login, now it says username and password is correct. Okay, so what this app is doing, it's basically querying your database table and it matches these values against your table values, and if these values are correct, it's going to show us username and password is correct. Otherwise, in the case when we give the random value and click login, it's going to give us login is failed or username and password is not correct. Till now we have seen how to connect our JavaFX application with SQLite database and how we can create this login frame using SQLite and our JavaFX application, right? And whenever somebody gives his username and password and click login button, it says username is correct or not. Okay, now in this video we will see how we can open a new window whenever this login is successful. Okay, so on the successful login we want to open a new window. For example, it could be for the user window, right? So let's get started and see how we can do this. So till now we have created this login controller, login model, and SQLite Connection.java class and login.fxml file. Now first of all we are going to create one more fxml file, and this fxml file we are going to name it as, for example, user. So user, after successful username and password, this will be the user user page. Okay, so just name it as user and just click finish, and right click on your user.fxml file, go to source, and in here generate controller and just click OK. So now we have user.fxml file and user.controller.java file, right? The model for this we are going to create in the next video, because in this video we just want to open this user fxml file, and we are also going to see how we can transfer the user data from one frame to another frame. Okay, so for example, we want to display the username on the user fxml file whenever user logs in. So let's see how we can do it. Now first of all, what we are going to do is we are going to go to our user controller.java class, and in here first of all we will just implement the initializable, right? And then add the unimplemented methods, and then we are going to create a label here, and this label will be for the username, for example. Okay, so just write @fxml and then private label, for example user lbl for user label. Okay, and add the imports for the label. And now we are going to create one more function here, and this will be a public void once again, and this will take one argument which will be a string, and we will say it's a user. Now whenever the user logs in, I want to show his name on the label of this other fxml file which we are going to open. So we will just take this label and then we will call a method called set text here, and then we will just set this user from here. Okay, so this is our controller code. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my user.fxml file and then open with scene builder, and in here we have the anchor pane. Let's delete this anchor pane and just add some new container here. We can take a border pane, for example. Okay, so just take this border pane and drag and drop, and border pane has these 6 component: top, left, center, right, and bottom. It's I think 5, right? Now in here in the border pane, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a label. So just search for the label control here, and I'm going to add it in the middle, for example. Okay, or let's add on the, for example, top, right? And then in here I'm going to change the name of this label. So I will just take the same name which I have given here, and then go to code, and then in the fx id just paste this id here. Okay, and save it, and once again go to the property, and here instead of label I want to just say user welcomes, for example. Okay, now the next thing is to connect this fxml file with our user controller.java class, right? So go to controller here, and then choose your application.user controller, and now save your code. Okay, and after saving, just refresh your project, and now we will go to the login controller.java class. And in the last video we have written a code and we have created this function, and in this function we are testing whether the username and password are correct, and if the username and password are correct, then we were printing the username and password is correct on the label on login frame, right? So in here what I'm going to do is, if the username and the password is correct, which is this if condition, then I'm going to go inside this if condition, and in here I'm going to write the code to open this new user.fxml file. So what we need to do here, you can go to the main.java file, and from here you can just copy this code. We will use this code more or less as it is, but we are going to change something here. So just copy this code from here, from main.java, and go to the login.controller.java class. And in here what we are going to do is, first of all we will add a stage. So just add a stage here, stage, and the name of the stage, for example, we will take this name, right? Primary stage is equal to new stage. Okay, now the next thing we want to do here is we want to just take this fxml loader and we will create a new instance of this fxml loader. So just write fxml loader is equal to new fxml loader, and then take this loader, and instead of this fxml loader just paste it here. Okay, so what we are doing, we are just creating an instance of loader first and then calling the load method on it, and instead of login.fxml we will just call user.fxml because it's the name of our fxml file, right? Just import the stage here. And now what we are going to do is, instead of using parent, we will use pane here. So just change parent to pane. Okay, and then import pane, and then what we are going to do is we will go to the end of this load function here. Just before this last bracket you just add a dot and then add open stream from here, and then you can now once again see it's showing the error, and this is due to it can throw an exception, so we need to catch it. So just click this bulb here, and then you can add a catch clause to the surrounding try. Okay, because we already have the try catch, we just need to add this one more catch block here. So just click add catch clause to surrounding try, and now the error will go. Okay, now on the next line of declaration of this pane, what we are going to do is we are going to declare our user controller class. Okay, so just call user controller and name it as user controller, for example, is equal to, And then what we are going to do is, first of all, we will in the bracket we will call a user controller. So we are going to cast the user controller first, so just call user controller. And then after this bracket, what we are going to do is we will take our loader and just paste our loader here, and then we will call a method called get controller. Okay, so just add this method which says get controller. Okay, and now we have the instance of our user controller class, right, which is this one, and it has this method which we have created. Let's change the name. I forgot to change the name of this method. So this method name we can say get user, for example. Okay, and just save it, and then go to your login controller.java class, and in here just copy your user controller object from here, and on the next line you can just call this get user function. Okay, and as an argument it takes the string. So we want to display the username from here. So username we can get from this text box which was for the username. So just take text username dot get text, just copy this code from here and just paste here as an argument for get user. Okay, so now I think our code is complete, so we can save everything and run our code. And now we are going to give the username and the password, which was test and test, as we have seen in the last video. And then just click login, and it's going to open this new window, and you can see the name test is appeared on the label, right? This is due to because we have provided a username test here. If the username was different here, for example some name, then that name will be displayed here. And you can also add a label here which says welcome whatever the username, for example test. Okay, so in this way you can open a new window when your login is successful, and then you can display the username on this label of the new window. In this video we will see how we can hide our first window when we open the second window. So for example, we have our login window here, and when I log in and login is successful, it's going to open the second window, but the first window, which is the login window, is not hidden. So I want to hide this and then open this. And we will also see how can we create a sign out button, so that when we press this sign out button, it's going to open our login window once again. So let's get started. First of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my user controller.java class, which I have created in the last video. Okay, this is the user window. Once user logs in, then this is the controller for the user.fxml file, right? Now in here I'm going to create a method for the button click event. Okay, so I will name my method as, for example, sign out method. Okay, so sign out. Okay, and it takes one argument, which is action event. So just add action event and give the name to your event here. And then what it does, it's going to just open the last window, right? But first of all, we need to hide our login window. So go to your login controller.java class, and this is the method which we are using on the successful login and password, right? And we are opening from here the new window, which is user window, using this code. So go inside this method, and inside this if condition, just above the declaration of your stage, what we are going to do here is just write node, and this is JavaFX scene node. Okay, so this will show the error. So first of all, import this javafx.scene.node. Okay, so just imports javafx.scene.node, and now enclose this node inside these brackets, and then call this argument called event here, and then call get source, and then once again enclose this code inside the brackets here, and then call a method called dot get scene. So just call this get scene here, and then call a method called get window here, and then you have your window, so you can hide it. So you can call a method called hide here. Okay, so this is the code to hide your stage. Okay, and now let's run our code and let's see if this login window is hidden using this code or not. So I'm going to save everything and run my code, and I'm going to give my username test and password test, and I will click login, and now you can see this login window is hidden, right? Now we want to do the same for the user window, right? So we want to create a button which we can click and we can go to the login window. So for that we have created this user controller.java, and in here we have the sign out method which I have created just a moment ago. So in here what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my login controller.java class, and I will copy all this code from here, right? So this is the same code which I'm going to use to open the login window. Okay, so just use this code from node to the end of your stage show. Okay, so copy it and now go to your user controller and go to your sign out method and paste it there, and it's going to show this error. We want to remove this user controller declaration from here, because we are not passing any parameter from one window to another. So just remove this user controller definition here, and we will also remove this call of the function which was get user, which we have created in the last video. So now this is your code. Okay, now in here we want to call the login.fxml file from the user, right? So just call login.fxml file, and this code throws some error. So you need to enclose your code inside a try catch block. So just add a try catch block here, and inside your try catch block just enclose this code. So just paste it here. Okay, and your error will go. Okay, so just write this code here, and now one thing remains is we need to add a button to our user.fxml file. So just open your user.fxml file using scene builder. And once your user.fxml file is open, first of all what we are going to do is, because it's a border pane which we have used in the last video, and in the last video if you remember we added this label. So what we are going to do first here is we will right click on our label from here, and then we will wrap it in the H box. So just go wrap in and then choose H box. Okay, so it's going to wrap your label in a horizontal box, and now take a button and place it inside your horizontal box here. Okay, and now what we are going to do is we are going to name our button as, for example, sign out, right? And then go to code here, and in here on action we are going to give this sign out method which we have created, right? This is the sign out method which we have created. Now save your code and then go to your Eclipse IDE and then refresh your project once again. So refresh it, and now you are ready to go. So just run your project, and it opens my login window. So I will give my username and password, for example test and test, and when I click login it opens my user window and login window is hidden, and when I click sign out it opens my login window and user window is hidden, right? So in this way you can create a sign out button and hide one window when you open the second window. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. Please rate, comment and subscribe, and bye.